Mr. Chair, there's been some discussion about the bill that the DHS funding bill that the Senate passed unanimously now twice. The House, the votes are there in the House to pass it. The leadership will not take it up. You were before the House yesterday. Did you encourage the House to finally pass the DHS bill?
My interaction, we want the bill passed. My interactions yesterday were to remind
okay,
one side of the aisle.
But you do want the bill passed?
We want the bill passed.
Did you say that during the hearing yesterday?
I wasn't asked it.
Well, you said a lot of things during the hearing. If it was a priority for the administration.
In response to Democratic politicians that were saying that we were responsible for the shutdown.
Hold on.
Our shutdown?
Hold on. You had the opportunity to tell the House yesterday to pass a bill that you say you support, that 100% of the Senate supports, and you didn't bring it up. That's fascinating.
Senator, you had the opportunity to fund DHS without a month shutdown.
Second question, I was interested in the revenues in the budget that you've sent over. One revenue in particular interested me was tariffs, what you're assuming for tariffs. You can see that the numbers on tariffs were sort of bumping around at less than $100 billion a year, $100 billion in 2022, $195 billion in 2025 when the tariffs started to kick in IEEPA. Tariffs have been determined to be illegal by the Supreme Court, the IEEPA tariffs. Next week, you're starting to refund $166 billion of tariffs. So I was interested to see what your tariff projection was going to be. And actually, what I see is far from going down as you're refunding illegal tariffs, you're predicting dramatic increases in tariffs. What is President Trump going to tax next?
Senator, what you're looking at is we had 10-year assumptions for the IEEPA tariffs, and those should be shaded a different way. Obviously, the Supreme Court changed our strategy on that, and we are going through a process to replace those, but we do not believe that the tariffs will be less than under IEEPA.
So if you're going through the process, tariffs are a tax. I'd like to introduce, Mr. Chair, two documents from the New York Federal Reserve. 90% of the cost of the tariffs last year fell on American consumers and businesses, and another from the Tax Foundation. The average in 2025 was $1,000 per American tax household, if I could introduce them.
Objection.
So you're going through a process to decide what are you going to tax next? Who are you going to tax next to reach these astronomical tariff numbers?
We don't think they're a tax on the American people. They have not raised prices.
90% of the cost is falling
by
on
a
American
tax foundation
consumers.
paper that doesn't support tariffs.
But who are you going to impose the tariffs on next?
Look, tariffs are imposed on the foreign importers, right? We've seen that they don't impact.
What industry sectors are you going to hobble? Do you know yet?
It's not hobbling. It's ensuring that we have American manufacturing.
So I'm assuming you don't know. You don't yet know who the next tariffs are going to hit. You're just projecting all this money is coming out of Americans' pockets.
Our agreements with countries, Senator, have been out there ever since Liberation Day.
Liberation Day. Yeah, that's the one that you did right before Tax Day that took $1,000 out of American families' pockets. Let me go to the next one. I've heard you go back and forth between talking about the investment in the Department of Defense or the Department of War. Now, just for everybody here, legally, the name of this department is the Department of Defense, correct?
It's the Department of War.
And why do you say that?
Because that's what the president and his team has renamed it.
And there's a statute that calls it the Department of Defense. The president did an executive order saying the Department of War was a secondary title in September of 2025. Have you been instructed to use the phrase the Department of War?
No, there's an executive order that goes through a legal process.
You're just voluntarily complying with this whimsical cosplay. Let me ask you this.
You object to the word?
Let me ask you this.
Object to the name?
Are you aware of legislation that's been passed by Congress to change the name?
No, I'm just curious as to the extent to which I didn't realize this would be a debate, Senator.
Well, I'm not debating you. I'm asking you a question.
It's a hostile world out there.
Are you aware?
The president did an executive order.
Are you aware of any bill to change the legal name of the department?
Not to my knowledge, but it's probably something we would consider.
Well, I'm saying there's an NDA process right now. If folks want to change it, I would look forward to that debate because I think you'll get laughed out of the room and you'll become a punchline on TV. Nations all around the world have secretaries and ministers of defense. Do you know of any that has a secretary of minister of war?
Our founders thought it was a pretty good name when
after World War II, President Truman changed it back. Are you aware of any nation in the world that calls this function war rather than defense?
I did not realize that this was a source of
I will tell you that there's no other nation. Do you know in the oath that our military officers take is the word war mentioned?
I'm not aware.
defense is mentioned, war is not mentioned. Finally, you've sacked 350,000 people. Do you know what percentage are veterans?
Senator, we have ensured that all of the veteran preferences are stuck to.
30% of the federal workforce is veterans. So when you fire 350,000 people, I think you have fired more veterans than any administration in the history of the United States. I yield back.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.